All my life, I've been waiting for permission. I've raised my hand. I've waited until I was called on. I eagerly sought approval from whoever was in charge. At home, when I was little, I needed my father's permission to do anything. My world was tightly controlled. I couldn't even arrange my own dresser drawers or closet as I pleased. He gave me rigid instructions about everything, including those things, and punished me severely if I didn't obey. At school, I was quiet and didn't cause problems. I did what I was told. I might have resented it, but I obeyed. I never defied instructions. I learned whatever was placed in front of me, whether it interested me or not. I dutifully spat the information back out on tests, and I waited for the teacher's approval as proof that I was a good boy. I've slowly realized that I am still waiting for permission, long after I thought I had rebelled and broken free of that programming. I've been so proud of being a rebel and not doing things the conventional way. I thought I was free of all of that. But I realize now that I'm still sitting here waiting for some unknown someone to give me permission to do what I need to do and to be the person I've always wanted and needed to be. Deep down, I'm still waiting for my father, who's been dead for 5 years, to give me permission to be myself. And I realize now just how angry I am with all authority about every person who I see as trying to control me, every rule that attempts to control me. I have been at war with authority all of my life, but I was slow to really make the connection that seems so obvious now. You see, my first full-time boss was the stupidest man alive. I had no question about that. He was a moron. Then, when I changed jobs the next year, my new boss took the title from him. He was even more ridiculous and infuriating. He was a moron with no judgment. My third boss was stupid in different ways. He made me bristle at his asinine decisions. Why was someone like this giving me orders? It wasn't until the next boss, my fourth, that it finally dawned on me. Maybe they weren't the problem. At least not entirely. Maybe I have a problem with authority. Every new boss in my life became a new stand-in for my father. To obey them, whether they were right or wrong, wise or foolish, felt as though I was still being forced to obey the man who demanded unquestioning obedience when I was a child. These bosses weren't really stupid, although I did have legitimate disagreements with each one of them. Instead, I was destined to rage against anyone who took a position of authority over me. I simply couldn't take orders well. And I still can't. It started from the time I could barely walk, and it continued until I left home after college. Whenever my father called me, let's say from the other end of the house, I had to immediately drop whatever I was doing and run to him, brightly saying, "Yes, sir," when I arrived. I'm not exaggerating. It was like Army boot camp. I could not delay for any reason, or I would be in trouble. There was one time when I was very young, and I was in the middle of doing some task which needed to be finished, or else it would have to be started again. Some little thing, and I needed a few seconds. When my father called for me, I did something which I had noticed adults do with each other. I just called out, "Just a minute." He stormed into wherever I was, screaming about my lack of respect, and then he spanked me. To him, respect meant instant obedience. That's all he understood. I never made that mistake again. Early in the process of therapy with a good psychologist about 15 years ago, she asked me, "What would have happened if you had defied your father?" I couldn't even come up with a reasonable answer. You see, defying him openly was inconceivable to me, so I couldn't answer her. The best answer I could come up with is that I would have spontaneously combusted. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's all I could think of. It felt that lethal to defy his most trivial command. We weren't even allowed to disagree with him. To even like music or jokes that he didn't like could be dangerous. So even after all these years, I bristle at taking orders. I have spent most of my adult life working for myself, and I understand why now I have. I didn't mind having clients because I could fire clients or simply refuse to do what they wanted. And I sometimes did some of both. But for the last 8 years or so, I've had to take orders again. I've had a tremendous amount of freedom in my jobs in those years, but some little part of me, a part that rages against all authority, bristles each time I'm told what to do. At every stage of my life, I have raged against authority. But I have also begged for someone to give me permission to pursue what I wanted. I needed some authority's approval and permission, but I was inwardly angry that I didn't feel as though I could just stand on my own. Every time I've wanted to throw myself into some new project, such as a new business, I felt as though I was paralyzed until and unless someone gave me permission. When I was in my mid-20s, I did start a company, typesetting and then newspaper publishing. But the only way I did it was with my father's approval. Remember, he's the one who invested the money I needed, the stolen money. Without his permission, I never would have done it. I would have raged inside, but I would have been too afraid of doing it without his permission. When that failed, and I broke away from my father for the first time, I went to work for another company. I didn't go out and raise the money to start something new on my own. I didn't have anyone's permission to do that, even though I didn't want to work for anybody else. When I got into political consulting, quite by accident, it was only because a friend who was wealthy and influential needed my services. I never would have pursued that on my own. Essentially, I got permission from that friend to pursue a lucrative political career, and then other people started coming to me spontaneously wanting me to do their work. There were other ventures I wanted to start in subsequent years, but I never actually started any of them. I still have detailed business plans, sometimes with complete operating spreadsheets, for ventures that could have made me wealthy, but I never pulled the trigger on any of them. I never understood why. I understand now that I was waiting for someone, I have no idea who, to give me permission. I was sitting here like a little boy in class with my nice shiny proposal, and I was waiting for a teacher or an authority figure to say, "You're a good boy and you've done a good job. You have permission to do this." But there was nobody to give me that approval and permission, so I did nothing. Even now, I'm waiting for someone to give me permission. I have things I want to do, but I do other things instead. I continue on a course that I don't want to be on. Though it makes no sense from the outside, I see that I'm still passively waiting for someone to approve of my plans and give me permission to do things. I'm appalled by this realization. I'm also not sure what to do about it. I just know that something has to change. I was trained in ways that were both direct and subtle to obey quietly and wait for someone in authority to give me permission. I've raged against that authority all my life. I'm angry about the need for that authority. Somehow I have to find a way around this inner need. I need to learn how to give myself permission. But for now, I seem to still need a crutch of some sort. I'm still sitting here quietly, eager to show the world what I can do. But I need someone who believes in me to say, "You can do this. I approve of you." And it still angers me that I still feel that need after all these years.